In this video, we're going to look at some more examples of calculating word problems involving the normal distribution. So in this problem, it states that men's heights are normally distributed with a mean of 69.5 inches and a standard deviation of 2.4 inches. And women's heights are normally distributed with a mean of 63.8 inches and a standard deviation of 2.6 inches. So in this first part here, it states that Navy pilots are required to have heights between 62 and 78 inches, and we want to calculate the percentage of men and women that meet this requirement. Okay, so because the distribution, the mean and the standard deviation for the distribution is different for men and women, we have to set them up separately. To save time, I've sketched the normal distribution beforehand, right? So for men, so the mean would be 69.5, so 62 would be to the left here, 78 would be to the right here, and we're calculating the area in between them. So we want to calculate the probability that x is between 62 and 78. So because we're calculating a probability, that would be the inverse norm command, not the inverse norm, sorry, the normal CDF command. And here the lower bound would be 62, the upper bound would be 78, the mean for the men would be 69.5, and the standard deviation would be 2.4. So once we've entered all the parameters, we can do the calculation, and we get 0.9989. So 0.9989, which in percentages would be 99.89%. I say just multiply by 100, or move the decimal place 2 places to the right. Okay, so that's for the men. But what about for the women? Here the diagram is drawn slightly differently, right? Because the mean is now at 63.8, and so 62 is much closer this time around to the mean, so I drew it over here. 78 is pretty far to the right, so it's over here, and we're trying to calculate this area of the shaded region. So here we calculate the probability where x is between 62 and 78. So again, we need the normal CDF command. The lower and the upper is the same as before, but for the women, the mean would be 63.8, and the standard deviation would be 2.6. So once we enter in all the parameters, we can calculate, and we get 0.7556. Or as a percentage, you can move the decimal places to the right, so you get 75.56%. Okay, so basically it says that 99.89% of men meet the Navy requirement, and then 75.56% of women meet the Navy pilot requirement. Okay, so let's look at the second part here. It's still talking about heights of men and women, but now for Disney World, the requirements is between 50 inches and 75 inches. So again, we have to separate the problem for the men and women because the mean and standard deviation is different for each. So I've drawn the diagrams here to save time. We're still calculating the area in the middle. So for the men, actually let's calculate the women first, because the mean and the standard deviation is still saved from before. Right, so this is for the women. The lower bound is now 50, the upper bound is now 75, and so when we calculate the probability, we get 0.99999. So I mean, this is, and once you round up, this is already about 100%. So this is 1.99999. 1.0000, or approximately 100%. Okay, so now let's do the calculation for the men. I see the lower and the upper here are still the same, but the mean is now 69.5, and the standard deviation is 2.4. So we get 0.9890, or in percentages, this is 98.9%. Okay, so this basically says that about 98.9% of men meet the height requirement for the live characters, and then almost all women meet the height requirement. Okay, so that's how we can do the calculation here using the normal CDF command.